The stage waited in silence, glowing under heavy white lights that felt too bright for anyone standing alone beneath them. Thousands of empty seats stared forward, soon to be filled with judgment, expectation, and memory. From the side of the stage, Mateo Cruz took a slow step forward. His shoes were clean but worn, carrying marks of long walks and longer years. His shoulders were slightly hunched, not from weakness, but from habit. He had learned early how to make himself small. Behind the curtain, the noise of the world faded. The whispers. The laughter. The distant hum of anticipation. All of it blurred into a single quiet pressure pressing against his chest. Mateo's hands trembled as he stood at the center. Not because he doubted his voice, but because he knew what it carried. Every sacrifice his mother never spoke about. Every night the rain leaked through their roof. Every time hunger arrived before hope. The judges sat ahead, arranged like gatekeepers of a future Mateo never believed he deserved. Among them, Simon Cowell stood out without trying. Still. Unreadable. His presence felt heavier than the lights. Mateo did not look for approval. He looked inward. His breath slowed as memories rose uninvited. A small room. A cracked radio. A song that once made a tired mother pause mid-fold. The audience shifted in their seats, expecting something familiar. An imitation. A tribute. A safe performance. No one noticed Rosa Cruz in the crowd at first. She sat quietly, hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes never left her son. She had seen this moment in fragments during long nights of work. But now that it was real, it felt unreal. Mateo closed his eyes for a second too long. Not to prepare, but to remember who he was singing for. When he opened them, the room seemed to hold its breath. This was not a performance yet. It was a crossing. From anonymity to possibility. From silence to sound. And before the first note touched the air, something important had already happened. The world had paused. Long before the stage lights learned his name, Mateo Cruz belonged to narrow streets and unfinished mornings. His world was built from concrete walls stained by rain and time. The house he grew up in did not keep secrets well. Every sound traveled. Every worry echoed. Rosa Cruz woke before the sun, every day without exception. Her alarm was not a clock, but responsibility. Water heated slowly in dented pots while the city still slept. Mateo watched her from the doorway many mornings. She moved with quiet purpose, careful not to wake him. Careful not to let him see how tired she was. Her hands told stories she never shared. Rough from soap. Marked by years of work that never seemed to end. Music entered Mateo's life by accident. An old radio rescued from someone else's trash. Its antenna bent, its sound imperfect. But when it worked, it carried something powerful. Elvis Presley's voice filled the small room like a visitor from another world. Strong and confident, yet touched with loneliness, Mateo somehow understood. He did not know the words, but he felt the weight behind them. The longing. The hunger to be seen. At first, Mateo sang only when no one could hear. Softly. Almost apologetically. His voice blended with the hum of ceiling fans and distant traffic. It never demanded attention. It waited for permission. Rosa heard him anyway. She never interrupted. Never praised. Never asked questions. She simply listened, as if afraid the sound might disappear if she moved. Nights became Mateo's sanctuary. The city quieted. Dreams grew louder. While others slept, his voice practiced surviving. It carried the weight of unpaid bills, shared meals, and unspoken hope. It learned patience before power. This was not training. This was endurance. And slowly, without realizing it, Mateo's voice became something no lesson could teach. It became honest. The moment Mateo Cruz stepped fully into the light, the scale of the stage revealed itself. The floor stretched wider than the streets he grew up on. The ceiling felt impossibly high, like a sky he was not meant to reach. Rows of faces blurred together. Some curious. Some distracted. Some already certain of what they expected to hear. Mateo stood still at the center, feeling the weight of the room settle onto his chest. His heartbeat echoed louder than the distant murmurs. For a brief second, doubt rose like a wave. But it passed. He did not look at the judges. He did not search for his mother in the crowd. He let the world fade, just as he had learned to do in the quiet hours of night back home. When the first note left his chest, it did not arrive loudly. It arrived gently, like a memory returning without warning. The sound moved through the room slowly, touching corners instead of conquering them. It carried restraint. Control shaped by years of holding back. The audience shifted, uncertain. This was not imitation. This was not performance. As the melody continued, the voice deepened. Not with force, but with feeling. It sounded like resilience given shape. Like longing that had learned patience. Every note held a trace of the life it came from. Storms survived. Nights endured. Promises whispered to the dark. The song was familiar, yet it felt new. Elvis was present, but transformed. The voice did not chase the legend. It carried it forward, filtered through a soul shaped by distance and sacrifice. In the judges' row, movement slowed. Hands stopped writing. Postures shifted forward without awareness. Simon Cowell's gaze remained fixed, unblinking. No reaction. No interruption. The room itself seemed to lean in. With each line, Mateo grew steadier. The trembling left his hands. His shoulders lifted slightly, as if something heavy had loosened its grip. This was no longer about courage. It was about release. And as the final note approached, the air felt different. Charged. Expectant. Something rare was unfolding, and everyone in the room felt it. Even before they understood what it was. The final note did not fade. It settled. It rested in the room like a held breath that no one dared to release. The music stopped, but something else remained, suspended and fragile. Mateo Cruz stood motionless at the center of the stage. His chest rose and fell slowly now. Not from fear, but from exhaustion of giving everything he had carried for years. The audience did not erupt. They hesitated. Hands hovered in midair, unsure if applause would break something sacred. Eyes remained fixed forward, as if blinking might end the moment too soon. The judges' table was still. Unnaturally still. Simon Cowell did not move. His expression did not sharpen into critique. It softened, almost imperceptibly. This was not the silence of disapproval that many feared. It was the silence of recognition. For once, the armor he wore, built from decades of judgment and expectation, had cracked. Not visibly. But deeply. His pen rested untouched. His posture leaned forward slightly, as if drawn by an unseen force. The room began to understand. Something had been felt before it could be analyzed. This performance had bypassed technique. Bypassed comparison. Bypassed legacy. It had gone straight to memory. The silence stretched longer than comfort allowed. Longer than television usually permits. But no one rushed it. In that stillness, the audience felt their own stories reflected back at them. Loss remembered. Struggle acknowledged. Hope renewed. Mateo remained unaware of the impact unfolding around him. He waited for instruction. For judgment. What he received instead was pause. And in that pause, the legend of Elvis did not diminish. It transformed. It became proof that greatness could travel across oceans and return wearing a different face. When the first clap finally broke the silence, it did not shatter the moment. It sealed it. Because the quiet that came before had already said everything. The applause did not rush in all at once. It rose slowly, like a wave unsure of its own strength. One pair of hands began. Then another. Then the entire room followed, standing not out of excitement, but respect. Mateo Cruz remained still, absorbing the sound as if it belonged to someone else. His eyes searched the crowd, uncertain where to rest. That was when he found her. Rosa Cruz sat frozen in her seat. Her hands, worn and trembling, pressed gently against her mouth. Tears slid down her face without effort or restraint. She did not wipe them away. She let them fall, as if honoring every year that had led to this moment. She saw more than a performance. She saw early mornings and late nights. She saw meals stretched thin and dreams folded neatly away. Around her, strangers felt the same weight settle on their hearts. Some looked at their own children differently. Others remembered parents who had given everything without being asked. The room was connected now. Not by music. By memory. Mateo's voice had reached beyond the stage. It had crossed oceans without leaving the room. Phones would later replay the moment millions of times. But no screen could carry what was felt in that instant. Online, people would search for his name. Not because he was perfect. But because he was real. Back home, neighbors gathered around flickering televisions. Streets that once echoed with struggle now filled with pride. Mateo returned to his small house changed, though the walls remained the same. His voice no longer hid in the dark. Rosa worked fewer hours. She slept more. She smiled without forcing it. The world did not change overnight. But something inside it softened. And somewhere, long after the applause ended, a legend smiled. Not from comparison, but from continuation. Because a voice born in silence had reminded the world why music exists in the first place.